It's the worst. Especially rom-com. And this is like rom-com in that it's single camera comedy. Why did I just say that? What makes single camera comedy and rom-com go in the same bucket? Why am I repeating myself? Oh, because somebody's listening to me on the feed. Turn. Okay, but Casey?
Because it's two people in the journey.
No, good guess, but no, so wrong. No, I'm kidding. What's the difference between multicam or sitcom, which are the same thing, or 3-camera comedy or 4-camera comedy? It's called all of those things. Or half-hour comedy, which even though single camera is half-hour, they still call half-hour comedy means multicam. What's the difference between that and single cam?
It's more intimate.
Yes! No! Well, the answer would be that would be less intimate, and single cam would be more intimate. Yes! Exactly. So rom-com would be shot the same way. Just like multicam is always going to be proscenial. It's going to be Neil Simon's answer to television. And the camera will never come over here and shoot that direction because it'll see an audience. There's a fourth wall. No fourth wall. We have to, whatever. So in single cam, just like in rom-com, you're going to have that camera go anywhere it wants to. It's going to follow these people. Therefore, they can get closer. They don't have to be blocked to stay open. So it allows for a lot of intimacy. We shoot tighter, too. You'll notice that in sitcom, we talked about this a little bit last time, but in sitcom, you're going to have Joey come in the front door, and he's probably not going to walk all the way over to Chandler's face. He's going to stand there and announce whatever it is because it's like, pay attention to me now. And the distance allows for a little more gesturing, a little louder self, a little more projection, if you will, because they need to be heard. Whereas in a rom-com or in a single camera comedy, the characters will already be standing by the door, or we won't cut to him coming in the door. We'll probably cut when he gets close, enters the room or something. Or maybe we do, but we watch him slowly come upon this other private conversation and then come in. And the objectives are very similar. The obstacles have to still be grand. Everything still sets you up for a lot of conflict. This comedy is the same. People say, oh, well, in single cam, less is more. I can, I don't have to find the funnies so much. Hopefully, you're finding the funnies, if you will, in both of them. Both characters need to be heard. Just in sitcom, I need to be heard, and I know I need to be heard in a very demonstrative way. So I block myself. I come in, and when I get in, I take stage. I'm putting on a little bit of show for the people who need to look at me, who need to listen to me, who need to change so that I get what I want. Those are my neurotic decisions as a person. So that's some of the work we talked about last time. Why are you always using humor? Why do you do that? Why are you always being funny? Why do you take stage? Why do you put on a little show? You have to find that for yourself if you're not that kind of a person. And a lot of people who are really good at sitcom are that kind of a person anyway, or used to be, and figured out that it gets them slapped around a lot. What's funny about sitcom in my world is that my belief system is that we love tuning into those people once a week, but we really don't want to be friends with them. So, some of them have figured it out, and some of them are very lonely people. But anyway, in this, these people are less neurotic. They don't need to pull attention in such a great demonstrative, dramatic way. But they still have that great underlying need. They've learned to get along better, and they become more intimate. You'll notice that love pushes both. You know how we talked about love and power? Did we talk about love and power in this class at all? I'm pretending we talked about love and power. And everybody's driven to get love. That's all we want. I think we've said that at the base, psychologists and therapists and all kinds of philosophers will tell us that all we want as human beings is to be loved and accepted. And some of us think we get that through power. And so you'll see scenes where people are using power, hopefully to force people to love them in the end. I need to do this because that's how I feel good enough, and ultimately I feel good enough then for love, whether they're aware of it or not. Poor Donald Trump. And so, and some of us recognize that there's vulnerability needed to find love, and we'll go that direction instead. And we'll try all kinds of things, hopefully, because we really want to win. And as long as we feel we're not winning, we continue to try. And a lot of times in a romantic comedy, what's stopping us from winning? The other person or our own personal baggage?
Personal baggage.
A lot of times it's our own personal baggage. Therefore, we feel like we're losing even when we're not. And we sort of make that outcome inevitably happen because that's how we see things. So that's how we're responding to the world. And so we get what we believe we're getting. That was kind of deep. And so we don't find groundedness, but lots of times there'll be moments. You'll see the way a director shoots. Sometimes when you watch your rom-coms or you watch a single camera comedy, you will see the whole room established. You will see them back up in Modern Family and get three people in half of the kitchen or whatever, and the people can slip on a banana peel. I mean, it is okay because they are those same needed people. They have those same needs. They're not less funny. They're just a little bit me, apparently, because I must need to put on a show. Thank you. So those moments can slip out. It's just that they're more in tune with intimacy. They're more in tune with knowing that always putting on a show pushes people away. They have learned that, whereas people in the sitcom haven't. And that's how we be truthful to all people that we play. We don't want to show up at a sitcom and go, oh, this is a sitcom, so I don't have to do any history work. I don't have to really worry about those things. All I have to do is figure out what the funnies are and play them. That used to work prior to 1970. Since then, it is really considered dumb comedy. And sometimes it's fun to be entertained by dumb comedy. So sometimes, we like it, but mostly we can't take a whole lot of that. We like to see stuff that breaks through. And I would say single camera comedy is the great answer to that. A director friend of mine who does some of this stuff said, in multicam, those are the people who you don't necessarily want to invite for dinner, except on special occasions when you just really need somebody to be sort of entertaining, or you need people to be able to talk because they don't know each other. In single cam, those are the fun people that are your neighbors who you do invite over often. They've figured out how to get along in the world. I thought that was really good. And they said, we don't want to see you be funnier than my neighbor, but my neighbor's really funny. So there's that. But what it means is my neighbor's not trying to do a joke. My neighbor is trying to make me laugh. One person trying to do a joke is doing it for an audience that doesn't exist. And the person trying to make me laugh is being themselves and finding their own sense of humor, and it's coming out of a natural need. So we're all good at comedy. All of us are good at comedy, other than the story that I'm not good at comedy, because all of us have used that tactic, if you will, to get somebody to like us, to get somebody to laugh. We've all tried at some point in our lives to get somebody else to laugh. I hope, unless you're, I could go a whole other direction with that. But anyway, all right. So it's called Making History. I think it's going to be a really fun show. This is a very early on script. I understand that later versions have come out and some things have changed. So in 2017, when you see this, it probably won't be these lines. But whatever. Let's see. All right, so you're coming in and you entered an inn room. Why? Because you're visiting? Yeah, you probably don't have a house here. Yeah. And can you afford it? Yeah, because you're bringing money from the future, I guess, or I don't know, because you'd have to have current money. That's very interesting. I hadn't thought about that. Maybe you're getting a hold of some gold or something. Go to those places where, maybe that's what you're doing. But somehow you seem to have plenty of money here. And do you have a lot of money back where in 2016? No. How come? How do you know that, first of all? Because none of us, right, because your sole possession is a bag of dead squirrels. How is that a gift, by the way?
How is that a gift?
Yeah.
So you can dissect them or something. I don't know.
Okay, so it could be a gift from one of your science students. But there's probably, who would give you a gift of dead squirrels? And somebody in 2016 or somebody? Oh, yeah, probably somebody.
Or someone significant.
Yeah, probably Pat or someone significant. Maybe one of these Deborahs, maybe Paul Revere, I don't know. Maybe John Hancock, he seems to like you, okay? Somebody. So you get gifts in this world.
In 2016.
You took it back with you. I don't know. Probably because you have nowhere to keep gifts. So you took it home. And why do you have nothing at home? Why is all you brought home a bag full of squirrels? I mean, that's not the question. Why is that all
I'm
this?
a shit teacher.
Because, well, probably, maybe you're a good, well, you are a shit teacher, aren't you? We saw that. But yeah, you don't get paid a lot as a teacher. And where's all your money going?
Time travel.
Thank you. Time travel. It had to cost a shitload to get the stuff that it took to create time travel. And I don't think the school's going to give a shit teacher that much money. Maybe they don't even have that much money. So apparently, you are driven to be what in the world? A scientist, like driven to be a scientist, which gives us one of our pieces of history, does it not? Why are we doing what we're doing? What are you doing? I'm a scientist. So unless you chose to become a scientist in your life, this would be different than your choice. So you need to look at that and say, what would drive me to become a scientist? Did anybody do that? Just thinking off the top of that way, when you know why you're a scientist, things are going to pop out at you that you say here that wouldn't pop out at you if you hadn't considered what it's taken for you to become a scientist in your life. How important that is. How you given up all of your furniture, apparently, to do that. And what was it for? Just make it up right now. What was it for? Why did you become a scientist? What were you hoping would happen? Casey, save the world. Why? Because the world needs saving, absolutely. But until it becomes personal, it's just a generic concept. It doesn't move us. So to save the world so that to find love. Right. That was kind of you going after love through power in a certain way. You were forcing stuff to happen. Apparently, the school wasn't giving you all the money you needed, and you sold everything you owned. And who knows, you probably sold your mother's house too, and you borrowed money from your, I don't know what you make up that makes your stakes so high that you absolutely had to be a great scientist who saved the world, because then people would finally take notice of you and you would get love. You would get love. All right, when you know that, that's going to change the scene, yeah? It's going to have nuances and bring thoughts up in you, feelings up in you that wouldn't if you were just playing the scene skin deep, just what's here, or the moment before and what's here, right? So while script analysis is really important, history, even in comedy, is really important. And it doesn't take long. How long did that take us to figure out? A minute? 2? You know, I had to ask the questions, but that's how long it takes to figure out. All right, so what else are we doing in the scene? What else are we doing? We're not just in our life.
Changing historical events.
Yeah, that's by accident. But what we are doing on purpose is changing historical events. You're so right. We are, let me move to the board. We are, why am I doing what I'm doing? Why am I a scientist? To get, to be a powerful person and an important person who will then get love. Sure. Why am I doing what I'm doing? Risking history by returning and changing 1776. I got to tell you, when I thought about that as Crystal, I thought, I would be very, very frightened to touch a frickin' butterfly that lands in China, that whole thing. I would be very afraid of what I might say, what I might do if I returned to 1776. So what happens that Crystal, that you go selfishly, according to Chris, get into your time machine and go back there and willy-nilly fall in love with people and decide to change their marriage plans and whatever else you do, start, claiming songs that aren't yours or yours, and like you're making things up but way ahead of their time, and who knows what else you're saying that could, if you sang the Star Spangled Banner at that point, then what's there to be in the future that's new that then could acknowledge where America was or whatever? So you're screwing things up a lot. What would that take for you to be, what do you got to tell yourself to make that okay?
I'm accepted. I found love.
That's it. I am compelled. I am compelled. And why would God finally make me be accepted? This is all I've ever wanted in the world. Why would God put it there unless I'm supposed to change the world? That's what I would tell myself. That's what I have to tell myself. That maybe I make a difference there. Because why? Look, everybody likes me. It's telling me when I pray at night and I say, God, send a message, right and left, I go back and I get an eviction notice and a bunch of stinking squirrels. That can't be right. The world needs to change. It needs to be a different future. Maybe future people would appreciate science. Maybe, I don't know, but I think it's my calling. I have to go back. And it's okay if I go back. And I have to follow my heart and find love. And if Pat and I get married, so be it. Because who knows? You don't know. You don't know, shut up. Right? So that's why am I feeling what I'm feeling? Well, what am I feeling? I'm feeling not good enough. I'm feeling vulnerable. I'm feeling not smart. In the scene, you might even look, there's so many places, feeling so many things, of course, but we try to pick big picture things, right, that'll drive maybe the whole series. One of the things I know that I'm feeling is I feel stupid around Chris. But let's set that aside and go there with relationship and see, is there anything else I'm feeling? I'm feeling not good enough. Yeah, maybe guys whisper quieter or leave the room. Zach, out. Shh. Quiet. Okay. So maybe I'm feeling...
Justified at moment.
Yes, I need to justify myself moment to moment because I feel so guilty, wrong. And then, if I'm vulnerable and guilty and wrong, that makes me be a little neurotic, doesn't it? And it makes me do tit for tat. And it makes me do poo-poo on you and say silly things that come out of my mouth too fast. And then I realize I put that in a dumb way. But then I'm going to try it again. And everything I do is stupid. Everything I do is stupid. Like what you say here, maybe I was, but that's all in the past. Struggling. That could have, if you didn't struggle with it, if you were okay with saying that, probably nobody would have gone anything with it. But you're like struggling. You're right. You're right. All I wanted to do was time travel, but ... It turns out there's no future in it. Now you've really caused your own problem. If you'd have just stuck with the first one, but everything you do, you feel not good enough. You have to fix. You have to, I'm not, especially and I'm back to Chris again. And you're so tired of being who you've decided, Mr. Ego, and maybe Miss Ego, that's your compensating for feeling not good enough. You've decided you're the smartest person in every room. Why do you think you're the smartest in the room? I'm sorry, a little Hamilton there. And so you end up right there. I'm delirious. Yeah.
Treats for
Woohoo! Have a little flu with that, and you'll be fine. Yeah, so you end up like dissing poor old Chris in a moment. Did you guys notice what you said to him? You have no idea what it is like being the smartest person in a room. Yeah, he's a teacher there. He thinks he's smart when he's teaching history. As a matter of fact, his whole class thinks he's freaking brilliant, and you're like, you have no idea what it's like to be smart. And then people are mad because you're not cool. And then he realizes, ha ha ha. But there's a lot of jokes in here I think some of us kind of missed over. But we will find them when we know that we're coming from this, I'm not smart enough, I'm not good enough. I'm a teacher and I get paid shit. I'm a teacher and I'm really smart and I'm a genius and they won't even give me the money that I need to make this time travel. And I really can do it. And nobody will listen to me. And everybody thinks I'm stupid and I'm gonna go for time travel because that will shut them up. I'm not trying to solve cancer. There's a lot of people doing that. But I go for, ridic because I have such a great need. And it turns out I am really smart. It worked. In a duffel bag. Did you see that? Okay. Did anybody watch a preview of this? Did you? Yeah. I was like, I hope they don't watch the previews. But there's a lot of information in there. But I can see that it's already changed. The scripts have already changed. But time travel machine is a duffel bag. And you zip it. It's ridiculous. It's so funny. Okay.
That's so funny.
So, and again, if Chris had done his work, which the reader won't have, but there's a real truth to you can't do this to history. This is a person who's all about history. Imagine that the writer and Chris have a lot in common. Finding a way to get that to people and hoping that they all are just like, you're amazing, Mr. Perel, or whatever his name is. I guess that's Dan. I'm a writer tune in and be like, stop therapying me. You can't do this to history. What has history ever done for me? Again, it's a tit for tat. It's not grounded in any kind of like deep, dark meaning. It is, actually, I lied. It is grounded in that, but in that moment, you're talking out of your neuroses. And so this stuff comes out of your mouth before you intend it to always. So be very careful. Yes, our history has pain in it. Pain causes comedy. But if we let ourselves relax into the pain, pain causes hurt. And it's going to show up as sad. And that's going to not show up as neurotic. So the more pain you feel, the more you're like, it's sort of like you've made up a story and you know you've made up a story. Whereas as children, we've made up stories and then they stick to us and they're our baggage and we don't know we've made up the story. We do have that baggage because we're human beings. But on top of that, we know that probably if I would just, try a little harder and be a little nicer and not be so full of myself in 2016 and not fight so much for money and not fight everybody and, not be so hard on the students and give them all that, probably there's a way I could be liked. I sort of know on some level that it's me. And so then I have to justify, because I know it's me, so I know I'm wrong, so then I have to find these little things so that nobody can get any words in, because then, so they can't win. Does that make sense? Or is that, okay. Therapy for Crystal. So yeah, they help you a lot here. Let's talk about that. It sucks. It doesn't suck. You just suck. Shouldn't it end there? I was like, it doesn't suck, you just suck. But then you have to say, at being here, like, ooh, that's clunky. What is that clunky for? But I think it's funny that Dan, again, it's not a sitcom, so it's not going to be so set up joke. It is going to be more like your neighbor talks. And they're not, maybe he's not that good at being funny. Like, he's probably a nerdy scientist who here, he can steal everybody's jokes that he remembers from 2016. He probably goes home, learns more, comes back, tries them out, and everybody thinks he's so funny. Like, so he's probably like trying on his stuff, it doesn't suck, it's just you suck at being here. So there, I would use a lot of that failing kind of stuff in trying to win, because he's not supposed to be really cool. It's just he happens to seem cool here. And who is cool? Chris. But how is he here?
Not cool.
Here, not cool. Nobody likes him. Nobody digs him. Yeah, so I am loving that. Finally. And then he says, I see why you want to be here. And he points out that I have nothing and no one. That's how I feel about dead. But they were a gift. You're hilarious. She had pain over that. I am sorry, but that was a nice person. It's the only thing I've ever gotten from anybody. It was great. Her history, you'll see it. Face it, you're addicted to time travel. Maybe I was ... but that's all in the past. So ... tells us what? We're clipping ourselves. We're cutting ourselves off. That means you didn't have a whole lot of time to organize how you wanted to say that. Maybe I was, but that was all in the past. Actually, it's in the books. Okay, that's not, no, that's said wrong, right? Is the struggle, I think. I mean, ... You're right. All I wanted to do was time travel, but, and then there's a ... before this one, and yet you make another mistake. But I think the ... is what? Where were you guys going there?
Well, you kind of revealed it.
Yeah, that in 2016, I'm going to end up dying alone. Here, there's a future for me. I might have kids, I might have love, I might make a difference, I might be somebody there. I'm in an empty apartment with kids that hate me and no family. Yeah, it's terrible. Thank you for your face. Yeah, but there's no future in it. Now, I mask the pain with this stuff again, trying to find lightness, because otherwise I might, really get sad there, and I refuse. Because I'm trying to win right now. I'm not trying to get sad. I'm trying to make, what is the objective? We know the objective, just in simple terms, is what? You want, okay, super objective, yes. Throughout your whole, whatever this series is written, you need love.
Yeah.
You need love. And what do you want in this conversation? Just as an objective, just simply said.
Stay in the past, or I want to...
You can stay in the past all you want. What do you want from Chris?
Help me stop the wedding.
Help me stop the wedding.
I want Chris to agree with me.
Yes. How important that a history teacher agree with you. Why is that important? Because what would it mean?
You change history.
Then you get your love.
Yeah, it means, then you'll get your love. It means that you're not changing history. If a history teacher agrees with you, see, they can be your crystal ball. Yeah. They know the future. in the past because they've memorized it. And you might want to do a little work on your lack of history, right? First of all, you're insecure about history. All you've dedicated your life to, apparently, to your own detriment, is science, 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 science. So you have no idea what's going to happen next. But to you, he is like a soothsayer. He's like these are great colorful nouns, a fortune teller, isn't he? He knows the future. And if he knows that, then he knows how to fix anything that might get messed up. And you, therefore, can get love from Pat. And stay here and get love from John Hancock. And all. I mean, you're meeting these people like, oh yeah, Johnny? You don't even know that they're supposed to be a big deal in history, So, look at your money, dude. There's people on it. But anyway, yeah, you're just like so into science. Everything else has been lost on you. So you need him. You know you can't stay here because what's happened? You've gone into the future. No, you've gone into the current 2016. And have you noticed anything? Yes, tell me about that.
I think there was like soccer, like no one watches soccer.
No one watches soccer. That's a European thing. And what else?
Some kind of British Revolution.
They ate fish. They ate fish and chips.
Union Jack shirt.
A Union Jack shirt. Every time you go back, you come back, and there's more things that should not be that way. There's no such thing as Starbucks. It's now all tea. Whatever. So yeah, you're realizing that so far it doesn't look too bad, but you need help. You need a magic wand. There's another colorful noun. You need a magic wand, and that's who Chris is. Were you and Chris like this? Were you tight? Did you hang? No. How do you know that? First of all, it's a smart choice, but how do you know that?
I didn't play poker.
Because of the director of the dean.
Poker. Yes, because you're never invited into the poker game. And
Like, are you guys really friends? I didn't know that.
the dean was surprised to see you guys were friends. You've never seen him teach before. You had no idea that the class applauds. All of these things tell you that you did not know him. And we know that you are driven for science, that you don't have a lot of love in your life. So you probably have how many friends? Zero. Probably nobody. Exactly. Because if I were going to go live in 1775, that was another thing I thought about, was I would have to leave Peter, I would have to leave Callie, I would have to leave you guys. I mean, I have a hard time going to London because I'm just away from people I know and love, and it's scary. I wouldn't want to go to 1775. They don't even have internet. Okay. So what would it take? Again, if I had nobody and suddenly I had a life there, I would want to stay there. It makes total sense. All right. They were a gift. Maybe it was. We talked about those jokes. You mean you want to stay in 1775? Beat. What's the beat? You have no idea what it's like being the smartest person in every room. What's
It's knitting.
Great. So we turn a corner, don't we? There's probably going to be the three things of a transition, which are physical change, emotional change, or you're saying mental change, intellectual change, and a emotional change, right? So we want to have all three of those things change at the beat. So maybe we find a little vulnerability here. Possibly, I don't know. You can go anywhere you want. You could go to laughter, I don't care, but change. You have no idea what it's like being the smartest person in every room you enter. And I would really lay it on thick. You have no idea what it is like being the smartest person in every room that you enter. Just because you're not cool. But that lets him be there and really get dissed. Okay. Chris starts laughing. What? You're using time travel to get laid. I'm not getting laid. I'm in love. Okay. What do we call that? What do we call this? You have to break up with Pat. I have to break up with Pat. I'm not going to break up with Pat. I don't have to break up with Pat.
Like repetition.
Yes, it's repetition phrase. It's repetition. So what do we want to try on first when we see repetition? No.
What he's saying.
Yes. In other words, think of it as like a what, right? It's just an automatic reflex. You don't even have to think. Try it first because apparently it works, and apparently directors won't have seen it. So what do we say makes people laugh? Surprise, right? And apparently auditioning actors, according to, I can't even remember who, I want to say James Burrows told me this, but I believe that's right. So long ago, and I've said it so many times, I start to feel like it's some other alternate universe. But anyway, because he said a lot of things, because I wasn't doing them right. Anyway, you have to break up with Pat. I have to break up with Pat. I'm not going to break up with Pat. I'm not going to have to break up with Pat. It's almost like you take 3 lines to get the answer you were going to say, which is I'm not going to break up with Pat. So why? Why don't you just say I'm not going to break up with Pat? But why are you twirling like that, right?
Processing it as you're saying it.
You're processing, and what's the worst thing that Chris could possibly say to you?
You have to break up.
You have to break up with Pat, right? You have to go back and never come back to 1775. You have to break up with Pat. Everything you're doing is wrong. You're going to risk the world. Everything out of Chris's mouth is exactly what you brought him here to solve. The fact that he's not solving it is bad. Back to the future, where you have nothing and no one, and are miserable and will die alone, and cats and dogs will pee on you. Yeah, you're using time to... Okay, so what? You're using time travel to get laid. I'm not getting laid. I'm in love. So there it is again, right? Where was it? You're using time travel to get laid. I'm not getting laid.
Wait, question.
If you try that, that's a repetition phrase. Yes.
What were you going to say about the repetition phrase that
Say
no one
it.
else does?
Say it fast. Everybody goes,
Say it fast.
somebody goes, you're using time travel to get laid. I'm not getting laid. That's not as good of one, because there is an I'm not first, so it's possible. And I always love to put the beat there too, so I hate it. I mean, you say to me, you have to break up with Pat. I have to break up with Pat. I do it. So try to not do it first and see how it feels. See what bubbles up in your brain. See what it means to you that somebody says you have to break up with Pat. I have to break up with Pat. I'm not going to break up with Pat. I'm not going to break up with Pat. Break up with Pat? No. And what I discovered in that, just trying it on, was, that's the worst thing he could say. That's what I'm hoping that he says. You can marry Pat. That's what he's supposed to say. And if you say or do, you know you're winning, you can stay here and marry Pat. That's what he said. That's my goal. That's what it looks like when I win. And him saying you have to break up with Pat is like, ah! So yeah, it kind of splurts out. And then if you try the splurting out and nothing bubbles up in your brain that makes any sense to you, do it anyway. No! Sorry, I just had to, right? Don't listen to bad acting teachers. I'm nuts. Don't do it. Do what's organically true to you, no matter what any director says, no matter what any casting director says, no matter what any actor says, no matter what any acting coach says, because you're the person. It's you. If it makes no sense to you, you can't generate it and say it. And truth matters to you more than pleasing those people.
Yeah.
Yay. Rock and roll must be day 6. Okay. So I'm not getting laid. I'm in love. If you love Pat, then you need to go back to the 2016. What was he going to say? To the fucking...
Future.
No, to the future. Exactly. It wasn't a swear word. Good job. Dan stops. Why does Dan stop? Why do you stop? Because what happened? Chris finally fell into your little life that you live in this trap of hell. He wasn't charming. He caught him. So see what happens here? Yeah, but I caught it. So what's he say to you? I'm better than you. Good. Come on. Come on. You notice these little baby beats, right? Whenever you have a little look. Listen. Come on. All of those, a person's name often, Carol. Those little, that's a trying to shift. That's my mom. Pat's brilliant and sexy, so we're probably into a new unit with, if I get you to fall in love with Pat, then we're both going to stay here and you're going to agree that I should marry Pat, yeah? Beautiful and sexy and actually likes you. By the way, is Pat male or female? It's like...
I think she's a she.
Yeah, probably in the show.
Was a he.
Yeah, I think you said she. I think a couple of us women said she. Get really clear. Yeah, get really clear that Pat's a he for you, and know who Pat looks like so that you don't, because this is happening a lot for women.
Yeah, but I automatically went to Pat from Saturday Night Live.
I know. I know. No, that's Smiley. Pat was androgynous Pat, where they yeah, where everybody tries to get Pat to say, I had to go to the doctor. Oh, was it for your private area? Was it a bad doctor? Instead of gynecologist? Yeah.
Everyone wants to know if it's boy or girl.
Yeah. I know, I thought the same thing. That's a terror. I should have changed the name. Anyway, whatever. Because I'm saying this because so many male parts are opening up to all ethnicities, and you go, that was written for a white guy. Or any gender, sex, whatever we want to say, right? So you read it and you recognize the testosterone in it. Make sure you do your homework to turn it around, because it could absolutely be you. Absolutely be you. So always take these on. This is me, and now what? And okay, and if you and I grew a dick. Did you just say that? What?
That's even better.
You just did it all the.
Woo! What did you say? Okay. She said it. She said it. Okay, maybe she didn't say it. Actually doesn't deserve to be shot. Well, I thought she said it. Doesn't deserve to be shot. So there's a whole piece of history I looked up and couldn't find a thing on, but I couldn't. But, maybe there's some license there. But the point is, too, that's another way. If I felt like I had to go back to 1775 and marry, that would give me that, because I'm saving a life. So that's got to matter, right? I can't let Pat die. I don't know if Pat dies, though. It just says gets shot. But he doesn't deserve that, which you told me is what will happen if the wedding isn't stopped. Good or bad, that's destiny. Oh, did you all hear that? Oh, my God. Meeting Deborah gets Revere to start the war. War is good? I mean, maybe it's not good. That would be, but you guys go to, here we got another one. Here's a repetition phrase again. He doesn't need to meet Deborah at their wedding. He could meet Deborah at our wedding, ... or some other place. What's the ... or some other place? Why is there a ... there?
It's like, he's not going to come to our wedding. Yeah.
Okay.
I took it that, but I didn't, yeah.
What has the argument been? What's the very first thing Chris says? Yes.
I don't accept to take any blame for this. This is my happiness. I'm going to do this thing.
I'm going to do what I want. And who doesn't want you to marry anybody and change any history? Chris. So what would you hate to tell Chris out loud?
So you're getting married.
That you're getting married. I think that's what that is. Even when you say I'm in love, it looks like a slip, because they do put that they do put that repetition phrase in there. I'm not getting laid, I'm in love. The more things that you do that you're not okay with, the more comedy we have, right? Because we're watching you struggle with things. We're watching you have conflict. So if you're okay going, I am in love, damn it. But meanwhile, maybe you wanted him to say, you guys are perfect together, like everybody else says around here. Maybe you shouldn't be around them because they're supposed to get married for financial reasons, and you guys seem to have a little spark. Oh, we do? Did she say anything about me? And he's supposed to say something like that. And instead he goes, whatever he says, oh no, we're in love. Damn it. That gives what? Chris more reason to get me the hell out of here. Well, I'm going to get married. He doesn't want to meet, he doesn't have to meet Deborah at their wedding. He can meet Deborah at our wedding. Or somewhere else. I didn't mean wedding, because what's Chris's reaction? Okay, you've overstepped now. You need to go live the life you're supposed to instead of putting the whole world at risk. And off of that, think about today's elections, that are coming up. Maybe America would be better off under British rule, for Christ's sake. I might be improving the future. You don't know exactly. Exactly. We don't know. So he's jumping. There's so many repetition phrases here. These two are stepping on each other. It's like going crazy, and that's fun. That's why we're time travel. I never said this line right once, I think. That's why we time travel home tomorrow. You want time travel? Throw a clock. Really? What's the ...
I loved that, actually. I thought it was so great.
So what's the ... really in Chris's reaction?
Like dumb joke.
Yeah, like dumb joke. Like here you are trying to be funny. When you're not trying to be funny and you're trying to be serious, you come out funny and have to scramble. And then when you go for a joke, it's like throw a clock. That's awful. Really? And so that lets the beat change, I think, again. You don't have to agree with me. This is like a baby beat. It's not that clear. But I think it's that reestablishing. First, you have to react to the really. Don't just blow through it. Well, that's not true either. You don't have to. You could blow through it because you are a self-centered whatever. But I think there's a lot of comedy in relationship. I think this relationship, especially in the pilot, is going to make, is either going to charm us and we're going to watch the show, or it's going to flop. So I would have that. He goes, really? I'm not leaving. Meeting Pat, maybe I would be a little harsher on I'm not leaving because I don't want to play too the same, but I'm not leaving. Meeting Pat has been life-changing. And what does Chris say back? That's what I'm afraid of. So we might have the poignant moment. You're going to always see one of those in a rom-com somewhere, too. And often you'll see them in very special episodes of multicam, and often you'll see them in throughout, just like rom-com, you'll see them throughout in single-camera comedy. There'll be those moments of real heart. So this is how they don't just bicker the whole time like an old married couple. We see why we might want to invite them back into our living room and watch this again, because nobody wants to watch just constant bickering. And then you say off of it, if he says, that's what I'm afraid of, he's talking about what? The future, right? And you say, I'm not. And when you use somebody's name, what does that tell you?
Personal.
It's personal. You're trying to create some intimacy there. I am not a selfish jerk, Chris. What are you doing right there? You're saying what he's implying. He's implying what he's thinking. Look, I hear you, is sort of what gets said there. But, and now painting the picture, it even gave you that. This is the line that is closest to what you say of the objective, is it not? Mm-hmm. You stay here and be my crystal ball, and we will make history. We can do what? We can make sure that the things that have to happen do. We might even be able to fix some things that shouldn't have gone that way. So we know that because if you read Chris's description, it says that about him, that eventually you bring him into that belief. So there's the beginning of that. And what do you have to do? You have to say, make history, because it's the name of the thing. And you have to say, right? Why do you have to make sure you say, right?
To get him on board.
To really get him on board. That's the organic reason. Why does the director and the writer want you to do it? Because what's Chris say back? He can say wrong, right? So if you go, right, with your knowledge in the past, right, we can make history. Now my wrong sounds stinky, right? Or if you go, we can make history, and you never say it, you lost the joke. So you have to notice those things as your own coach, as your own director, and then do what you just did, you beautiful organic people. You said, I say it because I so need him on board right now. Good. And now notice how the script isn't where it began. We talked about self-tapes and how casting directors will watch the first 10 seconds of your tape, zoom, especially if it's long like this one, to the last 10 seconds of the tape. And if you're in the same space, just don't even watch your tape, because you're not taking ground, you're not moving the plot or the relationship, things aren't changing. So you can look here at all the ups and downs that we've fell into naturally because of our objective hitting obstacles of our relationship, fighting with each other to try to stay on board. If all it is this bickering too, you could piss him off so much that's it. He's gone. You've got to find your vulnerability. You've got to find ways to reach him. Things that you've maybe never even tried in 2016, you're willing to try because this is your last hope, is it not? And then he goes, wrong, you're a selfish jerk. That's got to hurt, because you just really opened up to a person. Like, you don't talk to people. You deal with Petri dishes and electronics and stuff. And so I'm selfish? Oh, my God. You know how much I don't want you here? But I picked you. I thought it would be good for you, too. Think about this. So there's that, right? And you never even said thank you. I'm hurt, because this took a lot for me. And you're a stink bomb. If I'm selfish, so are you, tit for tat. Well, and then they laugh at you. Thank you for what? This hasn't been fun. Oh, please. All that's happening to you is you got puked on. What is that in comparison to?
To what you saw.
Yes. To your own life, you've lived through, my parents didn't love me, I blah, 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 whatever you've set up. I've never had a boyfriend. I'm going to die all alone. I don't have any furniture. The school doesn't believe in me. Every kid that takes class suggests that they get a new science teacher, because I don't really care about the kids or the people. I'm really working out my own stuff or whatever. And my life, compared to getting puked on, I'm sorry. And maybe I've been here, I've gotten puked on. That was way better. Because somebody came and took my clothes and washed them for me. That's never happened in my life, and somebody cared that I got bed bugs. I itch all over the place, and people actually care. They give me cream, they give me dead squirrels. They could. It could happen. So, and why do you start with puked on? What do you think? What is the smart choice that Chris is referring to? This hasn't been fun.
Being treated like a slave.
Being treated like a slave was probably pretty bad. And then, but we know that the pinnacle was what?
The urine.
He drank John Hancock's pee. So you're going to need a whole little quick story about that, or you can't say it with any believable. So tell me real quick, what did somebody quickly make up about that? So those are not the deep, meaningful, when I was 7 years old, I drank pee, or saw somebody. Those are not those histories. These are just the quick, like, here's something I referenced, let me make it up.
Maybe people like peed in like, forgot what it's called.
Right, a pea pot.
And maybe you thought,
He thought it was soup.
Sitting around and you thought it was like.
And he drank
at a
it.
party or, I don't know, like,
Yeah, at a party. Maybe it was in a cup and it looked like beer. Maybe, yeah, the other day I was working with, no, it wasn't you, but a fly, it was Ashley. But that stupid fly I told you flew into my mouth and he was like, oh, blah, 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 and I spit him out. I crunched him a little and he was dead. And I'm putting people on tape. I can't go and have a heart attack. I had to stay there and deal with life. I couldn't go brush my teeth. So I can't imagine drinking John Hancock's pee. Okay. It's worse than slavery only because it's a sitcom, but yes. So apparently that's the thing that's got to be like, you've got to see it all over Chris so that you're avoiding it and you find all these other things to kind of fill the space. So hopefully if you maybe in number you won't have to mention that one. But maybe what happened right after he drank the pee? What did he say to you? That's
Your fault.
it. Yeah, that's your fault. I hate you. I won't help you. That's it. We're going home. Done. Maybe that's the last thing that happened before we came here, and it's all over.
Yeah.
Tomorrow we're leaving. Yeah, so then you don't want to say it. You don't want to say it because there has to be some reason why you don't say it in the whole big bunch of stuff. And then Chris throws one of the pillows to the foot of the bed. What does that mean? Do we care?
It's just being done. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's the topper. It's like, you drink John here. Yes! That's how I would do it. And then, but I don't know. And then, and they gave you exclamation points here. There's probably a temptation, but I would try this on first. Again, if it doesn't organically work for you, go anywhere you want that you feel. We'll rewrite it, but if it works. But, well, sorry, you don't fit in the past. I don't know why that's in quotes. Maybe earlier he said I didn't fit in. Maybe we couldn't fit in the duffel bag very well together. I don't know. But you don't fit in the past. Now you know how I feel in the present. Well, maybe I don't tell people those things. See, when I try it on, my meaning-making machine gets going, and whatever I do is right, and I find out why. So I don't always have to, logic it through. I just have to get in the story and then do and say these words and let the images hit me, the feelings hit me, and then ask myself constantly, tapping into, why did I do that? Why did I do that? And you'll get the answers. And you don't have to say it out loud, and you don't have to write it down, but make sure you're always looking for organic. That's it. As long as you're looking for the organic, those reasons will pop into your head. And now you don't do it because of the exclamation point. You do it because of the reasons that popped into your head, which will also get really loud when you're like, that's really loud. They're going to have a film festival for the film students here a little later, and so they're testing the sound, and it'll quit. Yeah, don't you love how we've got this beautiful space, this theater? Okay. Like, really? It's the 6th day. And last week he was like, swear to God, this one for sure, for sure, for sure. And they're like, I decided to do the film festival this Friday instead of next Friday because of some holidays. And I'm like, I'm good. It's all good. I don't care. Okay. Dan and Chris climb into bed, head to toe. Dan puts on his sleeping cap. Sleeping cap. So Dan's got things. You're so prepared in this world. Poor Chris has no sleeping cap. He blows out a lantern as we cut to black. All right. Does that affect you at all? Does that matter to you, the auditioning actor?
No.
Why is it there?
Because there's a change in
So it does affect you. It does affect you. Do you have to blow it out? Not necessarily. It's supposed to be over.
But you're one of those people.
The scene goes to black, the curtain goes down, but you're one of those people, I love the way you said that just can't let it lie. Oh, I can't stand those people. Yeah. So that's great. So there you are, and it all kind of comes down, and you're going to get into bed together, which again, that creates that intimacy. Can you see each other? No, you can't even see. It's black even if you could, but you can't. So you're laying there, and then there's this, yes, stewing, exactly. And finally, you found something to win with. It's nothing the topic at all, but you found something. Trouble is, it's 28 cents. You fail it every time you try to beat Chris. And I think that's going to be the ongoing relationship is, those little moments where we think, oh, they're going to reach each other. And then, no. Because you cause your own hell, your own personal hell. That's great. Not me, you people. All right. Let's do now the objective sentence. So we know that what you want is for him to say, and we've practically filled it out, haven't we? So I want to push-pull just to hold it. What? Push? I want to go pull, but okay, push. I want to pull this. Give me 3 positive adjectives. Oh, can they see?
Cool.
Write it down later. Am I on? Is this on?
Yeah,
This is a good
it's
side?
just part of the board. Like, I can't get the whole thing, but yeah, I'm
Just
following you.
Okay, good. 3 things.
Cool.
Yes, he's so cool. I don't know if it's good or bad, but he's smart. He's cool, charismatic. Those are in the same pocket. Give me another one. He's smart, intelligent. What else is he? Well-loved. Honest. Responsible. Oh, so responsible to a fault. You're hating it. Yeah. Well, that's here, isn't it? Well-liked. He's probably got money. I feel like he's got money, too. His class is filled with people, and he keeps getting raises. What's the word? Rich? I don't know if he's rich, but that. Yeah, well off, yeah. Yet, 3 negatives. Insensitive. Yeah. How do you spell that? Sensitive. See, sense. Okay. It's better when I'm not up here, or when I'm spell checked. Insensitive. I know, but we need another word because that's a colorful noun. That's a noun. Stubborn.
Closed off.
Closed-minded. Closed-minded is that, and that's sort of that know-it-all thing because they're arrogant, right? Arrogant. See. This is what I should have Dwayne up here writing these so that I don't look so stupid. He is, right? He's a little prissy. A little bit here. He doesn't like the dirt and the this and that. He probably wears really nice clothes, has really expensive watch and shoes and stuff. Prissy. And I think that was a given. Wasn't it a little bit of a given, too? I think so. Okay, colorful noun. Why do I say the words colorful noun? Someone tell me. Why isn't it just a noun? Why don't I say man or history teacher or Chris or Fred? Why a colorful noun? What is a colorful noun? Yeah, it's poetic. It's descriptive in a way that doesn't have to be literal. It gets you into your creative mind, into a different space, using a different part of your brain that has more intuition and creativity. When people sit down to write a song and they really get literal and they try to work it out logically, oftentimes those songs don't have the same power as ones with more distant images and metaphors. That's why we have poetry the way it is, paintings that are not always they look like a picture, but they give us something. This is our opportunity to tap into that kind of art that every other artist, because you're artists, you're not line regurgitators, puppets. You are artists that are contributing something, and this is part of getting those juices going, and that's why I think it's so important. So the colorful noun in this case might be some of those things I said earlier would work, like fortune teller, soothsayer, crystal ball. Guess which one I would pick. They gave you one, and Adora stole it. I did read your homework.
Encyclopedia.
in the history encyclopedia. I think they say that of him, but he's like a history encyclopedia, and he's okay. So yeah, and so we want. Can you imagine walking around with like this crystal ball, this magic wand? He's like magic to you. The things that he knows and says will happen, and don't do that real quick. Put that rock back because this guy has to trip over it in a minute, and then you watch him come and trip. Oh, you're good. Those are the things I can picture happening. That's awesome. Into what? Well, we already kind of know. Into to helping me marry Pat, into getting on board, right? That we
Make history.
that we can fix this. Yeah. So all of that. So into I'm going to say getting on board. On board that I should stay and marry Pat, and we can navigate history to not ruin the world. Or what happens? So the big picture thing that happens is right, that's the personal thing, right? Either we wreck the world, which is exactly what he says to you. We become selfish people that ruin the whole world. And we, in fact, are not this amazing angel that's going to save things, but we're, in fact, the devil that ends the universe. That's not where we want to be. Or we end up so alone, we die all alone. Neither of those outcomes is good. And they both feel like life or death. Because dying alone feels more like death than dying. Okay, so or I'm alone, I'm just going to say it that way, or I blow up the world. And specifically, any potential I ever had, so maybe I keep my mother alive. Somebody in the world that I want to not blow up would be good. So, So why am I feeling what I'm feeling? We've done all of it. All right, cool. So let's take a break and we'll come back and watch. Yay!